a little high blood pressure, a little too much alcohol, a little unresolved anger or resentment, a few nights in a row without enough sleep, a little bit of junk food. By themselves, those things don't seem like a big deal, and they're probably not in the short run. But over the course of several years or maybe even decades, those little things can produce tragic health outcomes. Positive lifestyle habits have the opposite effect. Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help Christians opt out of the medical matrix, cut through the noise, and embrace a natural health lifestyle the way God intended. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, and this is episode number 177. You know, natural health from a biblical perspective is hard to find. That's why I'm starting my new membership club, Christian Healthy Lifestyle Community. We're going to have a group of like-minded believers that love God and want to pursue natural and holistic health from a biblical perspective without the overwhelm of spending too much time on Dr. Google. If that sounds attractive to you, I encourage you to get on the waitlist for the community right now. Getting on the waitlist won't cost you anything. There's no commitment to join, but I'll keep you in the loop as the launch date approaches. The first event we're going to have is a Google Meet on Thursday, May 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're interested in. I want to know how I can better serve you. And the only way to do that is to talk with you. So the easiest way to get on the wait list is to use the link that I've included in the podcast player show notes, or you can go to my website, chlpodcast.com/membership, and register there by filling out the form on that page. If you appreciate the content on this show, you're going to love the community. I hope to see you on May 1st. Now, in the last two episodes, I've been explaining the new tagline. In episode 175, I talked about the medical matrix, and in episode 176, I talked about natural health. And in this episode, I'll be unpacking cutting through the noise. Now, the medical matrix is the world's way of doing things. As believers, we're called to be different. 1 Peter 2:11 says, "Beloved, I urge you as aliens and strangers in the world to abstain from fleshly lust, which wage war against the soul." We're just passing through this world. And Philippians 3:20 says, "For our citizenship is in heaven." So as believers, we're not of the world. We're called to be different. We're called to act differently, and we should expect different results. Proverbs chapter 8 sheds some light in this as well, starting in verse 35. Now, this is wisdom speaking here. "For he who finds me, wisdom, finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who sins against me or doesn't embrace God's wisdom injures himself." So how do we find wisdom that produces better health outcomes? We've got to practice discernment. We've got to cut through the noise. And the noise is the onslaught of information available today. Some good, some bad, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. The noise could be faulty beliefs about God's intentions toward us, faulty beliefs about our own self-worth, and of course, faulty beliefs about what actual healthy lifestyle practices actually look like. Now, most people I run into have a desire to embrace a healthy lifestyle, but paying lip service to losing a few pounds or some vague idea like eating better is not going to do it. It takes more than that. We've got to be way more proactive than that. The problem is there's so much conflicting information out there, it's hard to know who to listen to. It's hard to know who to trust, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. That's where I come in. I've been in the natural health arena for 25 years, and I stay grounded with a biblical perspective. If an idea or recommendation doesn't harmonize with biblical truth, I don't embrace those ideas. I want to help you cut through the noise. But what kind of noise do we need to cut through? Well, I would define noise as bad advice that's based on faulty assumptions. When people have some faulty assumptions or some faulty presuppositions or false beliefs, those beliefs can take them down the wrong road. And sometimes those roads lead to some pretty kooky advice. For example, it's quite common, not only in the natural health arena, but in the medical field as well, to embrace evolutionary theory. It's been said that Charles Darwin gave the atheist something to believe in. Now, it's my contention that human beings are far more than slightly more complex or one notch above the animal kingdom. Evolutionary theory would have us believe that we're nothing more than a random collection of atoms and molecules. We're far more valuable than that. We're created in the image of God, Genesis 1:27, and he made us a little lower than the angels, Hebrews 2:7, and God gave us agency or free will, the ability to exercise reason, Isaiah 1:18. Those core beliefs have massive implications for our approach to health and wellness. For starters, our bodies are extraordinarily complex. The adult human body has approximately 75 trillion cells, and each of our cells knows how to do their jobs. We don't have to teach our bodies what to do. Rather than trying to outsmart our bodies with drugs and surgery, we're better off getting the obstacles out of the way and allowing our bodies to heal themselves. Our bodies know how to thrive, and our default setting is health. Now, drugs and surgery do have a place. They have a place in medical care. They're great with emergencies and acute conditions. They can be life-saving at times. But when the emergency's over, we're better served with natural, healthy lifestyle habits. Small habits implemented over time can make massive shifts in our health and well-being. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode 176, we should be trying to lighten our total body load. It's generally not the one or two insults that cause our health to fail. It's when those insults pile up that we find ourselves in some type of a compromised state of health. James Clear, in his excellent book, Atomic Habits, said this: making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant at the moment, but over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Now, I really agree with that. Now, I think we can really apply that wisdom to our approach to health and wellness and prevent chronic disease. We should be paying more attention to the seemingly small things that inhibit or enhance our health. Over time, we'll tilt the scale in the right direction and we'll be building health margin along the way. I was an airline pilot for 35 years, and in airline training, we sometimes look at the events leading up to an accident. It's almost never a single event that causes an airliner to go down. It's a string of events that pile up that cause the crash. In every flight, there are events that have the potential to compromise our safety margin. A little bad weather, a little congested airspace, some inoperative component on the airplane, a new or inexperienced crew member. Now, there are checks and balances in place designed to compensate for those compromises, but ultimately, it's the pilot's job to recognize when those events are starting to pile up and interrupt that chain of events. The same is true with our health. A little high blood pressure, a little too much alcohol, a little unresolved anger or resentment, a few nights in a row without enough sleep, a little bit of junk food. By themselves, those things don't seem like a big deal, and they're probably not in the short run. But over the course of several years or maybe even decades, those little things can produce tragic health outcomes. Positive lifestyle habits have the opposite effect. A regular exercise routine, eating real organic food, having close, loving relationships, spending time outdoors, a little hermetic stress like fasting or sauna bathing or cold plunging, those habits practiced over time will build health margin and prevent chronic disease. Not only that, they'll add years to our life and life to our years, and will increase our health span. And that's going to be the topic of next week's episode. But that's the way we build health. We reduce the total health blocking factors and increase the total health enhancing factors. That builds health margin, and we give our bodies more of a chance to thrive. We should be embracing healthy lifestyle habits that build health margin. Waiting until we get sick and expecting the doctors to fix us with a magic pill, potion, or lotion or procedure is not the ideal approach to pursuing health and wellness. Far from it. when it comes to our daily lifestyle habits, we need to be far more proactive than that. Another faulty assumption that leads to ineffective approaches to health and wellness is that genetics determine our destiny. We often hear that our health outcomes are predetermined by our genes or our genetic makeup. If your family has a history of heart disease, you're doomed, right? Not necessarily. That thinking is known as genetic determinism, and it's a flawed notion that paints our DNA as an unchangeable script. Bruce Lipton, in his book, The Biology of Belief, challenges that idea. And that's a great book, by the way, and I agree with a lot of what Bruce said in that book. He argues that our genes are more like the blueprint, and the environment surrounding our cells is like the general contractor building a house. The contractor dictates which part of the house is built and when. Our thoughts, emotions, and lifestyle choices profoundly influence gene expression. Now, blaming everything on genetics robs us of our agency. It takes away our God-given free will, and it discourages proactive engagement with healthy lifestyle practices. It ends up fostering a sense of hopelessness. If I can't change the genes I'm born with, then why bother with any lifestyle modifications? Now, genetics play a role, but they don't hold absolute power. Far from it. Epigenetics is the study of how environmental factors affect gene activity. Epi is Latin for above, so epigenetics is above or beyond genetics. We're now figuring out that we have far more control over our genetic expression than experts previously thought. You see, our genetic code is like the alphabet. By picking and choosing certain letters, we can create hundreds of thousands of words out of those 26 letters in the alphabet. The same is true with our gene expression. There's a protein sleeve that covers or exposes certain parts of the genetic code. That selective uncovering expresses different or varying outcomes in our bodies. We now know that it's the environment surrounding the cell that determines our genetic expression, and that's what really matters. In other words, our health outcomes are not a simple matter of that single monumental event that happens at conception. Just because heart disease may run in our family doesn't mean we're destined for a heart attack. It's lifestyle factors along with our genetic programming that determine our health outcomes. And I would suggest that lifestyle factors trump genetic programming. Diet, exercise, stress management, and even our mindset can alter gene expression that impacts our health outcomes far greater than our genetic programming. We have far more control than we've been led to believe. Focusing solely on genetics ignores the vast potential for positive change. We should be embracing a more empowering perspective, recognizing that we are active participants in our own well-being. Now, there's a lot more noise out there in the form of faulty assumptions or false beliefs. One of the big ones is the recommendation to reduce our saturated fat intake and replace those fats with polyunsaturated fat in the form of vegetable oils and seed oils. That's really bad advice. Now, I go into detail on that topic in episodes 141 and 142 on the podcast. If you haven't listened to those episodes, I suggest going back and giving those two episodes a listen. They're two of my most downloaded episodes. Another false belief is eat less and exercise more will make us healthy. That worn-out advice is shaming people and setting us up for a lifetime of frustration. Maintaining a healthy weight is not a simple linear equation of calories in versus calories burned. There are so many factors that go into healthy weight management. It's just crazy. I go into detail on the calories in versus calories out myth in episodes 168 and 169. Another factor is the gut microbiome has a lot to do with proper weight management. Our toxic burden plays a role as well, particularly EDCs or endocrine disrupting chemicals. Those chemicals will make it harder to keep the weight off. Also, the overconsumption of seed oils, that plays a big role in blood sugar regulation and our sensitivity to insulin. It's a huge thing. Also, EMFs or electromagnetic frequencies, all these factors serve to inhibit proper cellular energy production, which will make it more difficult to lose weight and keep it off. We don't lose weight in order to get healthy. We get healthy in order to lose weight. Healthy habits that contribute to better energy production at the cellular level will lead to effortless weight management. So what specifically are those healthy habits? Well, there's a lot, way too much to cover in a single podcast episode or even a series of episodes. Now, this podcast is great, but it does have its limits. And that's why I'm starting the community where we can embrace the Christian healthy lifestyle together over the long haul. Now, I'm going to be including a lot of different tools inside the membership to help us do just that. Now, the launch date is getting closer, so if you haven't signed up to be on the wait list yet, I encourage you to do that today. The easiest way is use the link that I'm including in the podcast player show notes, or you can go to my website, chlpodcast.com/membership, fill out the form there, and I'll be in touch with more details. More noise can come in the form of spiritual and mental emotional issues as well. We maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. Doing things God's way can be difficult for many people if they hold some false assumptions about who God is and what his intentions are towards us. I addressed that in the last episode number 176. Also, mental emotional issues can cause a great deal of stress that will impact our health as well. If we haven't learned how to experience emotions and learn from them and process them effectively, that can bring on a great deal of stress and compromise our health. Well, that's my thoughts on some of the noise we need to cut through in order to pursue health effectively. Now, of course, there's a lot more to say in these topics, and that's why I'm starting the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Community Membership Club. Inside the community, we'll have a support group of like-minded believers. I'm going to have online educational courses in there. We're going to do live Q&As and a whole lot more. Don't forget to sign up for the waitlist. If you do, I'll send you a link to attend the Google Meet that we're going to have on Thursday, May 1st at 8 p.m. Mark that down on your calendars. Again, the easiest way to do that is use the sign-up link that I've included in the show notes on the podcast player. Now, be sure to tune in next week. I'll be talking about another ineffective way to try to pursue health, and that is to embrace germ theory. I want you to know what it is, and I want you to be able to recognize it when you see it so that you can avoid it when it comes your way. I'm also going to be talking about how to extend our health span naturally. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Go out there and live abundantly. I'll talk with you next week. Be blessed.